Hi, I'm Shannon. I'm the Relationship Support Manager here at YB Financial Advisory. This video series we're going to be chatting to some of the brokers and team members here at YBFA to find out a bit about what they do in their day-to-day, both in the office and on the road, and how we can help our clients. Today we're here with Jake Richardson, one of the finance brokers here at YBFA. Jake, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah. So I started 4 years ago with Paul when there was just two of us in the office for a month. But I guess it's come on leaps and bounds since then. But I'm a finance broker, so I'm out and about speaking to customers, seeing what they want to do, what they're looking for, how we might be able to help them, whether it's growth or a little bit of cash flow problems, property, etc. But also going out and speaking to professionals, and I guess working a network in West Yorkshire, wider Yorkshire, but also like most of the north of England.
So how does going out and speaking to those professionals help you?
Well, it helps by, I guess, sometimes you'll get a referral from it. It's always nice. But it means that you build a better relationship that you can then work together on various deals. We can obviously pass deals to them if, for example, we might need a solicitor or an accountant for a customer of ours, then we can pass deals back to them as well. And I guess clients know that when you've got a relationship in the background that things go a little bit smoother, might help with speed, might help with cost even, but definitely getting that good relationship means that things are a lot easier once we're working on a transaction. And yeah, I guess it's always good to widen that pool of relationships with professionals and network and part of your network, but ultimately you need to make sure that you maintain that as well, so don't go too far.
Yeah. So it'd be great to understand what sort of deals you come across in your day-to-day. If you could give us a bit of background on that.
Yeah, so I guess, so when I first came in, it was mostly property. So residential buy-to-lets, I guess that expanded into commercial and semi-commercial, lots of bridging as well, where people might want to buy something at auction or move something faster, or they want to buy it and do it up and then flip it or put it onto a buy-to-let afterwards. Also, I guess from there, development finance is a big thing of what we do. What I've done in terms of people building from the ground up, which can be interesting, rewarding deals as well. And I think possibly my favourite, but don't tell people that don't use it. I guess, and then the flip side. So more last year than anything, I did business commercial finance, working from anything from tax loans and unsecured business loans, invoice finance, asset finance. We've done all sorts of interesting things, supported acquisitions, restructuring, and yeah, everything in between really. Oh, and trade finance as well. We done a couple of decent trade finance deals for people importing maybe from China, clothing wise, or things like that.
How does that work, trade finance?
So effectively, our customer will be buying stuff from, for example, China. I mean, we've done a couple of fashion brands, so they'll have to pay a deposit, but then ultimately a lender will pay the rest or a proportion of it once it's on the ship. So as soon as it's on the ship, then it's funded by the bank. It'll get shipped over. It can take a wide range of times, but ultimately it lands in the UK, and depending on what the terms are, it sometimes funds all the way through to when it lands in the warehouse. Sometimes it expands beyond that, and they've got time to sell it, and that nicely piggybacks onto I guess a stocking facility potentially separately, where they get funding to hold the stock, just so it releases that capital for them to keep transacting as they normally would do. but also it can then back onto invoice finance as well, which is a big thing about what we do. There's a lot of people that rely on invoice finance, and that means that effectively you put an invoice in to a system or you report on it, and effectively you can draw down a certain percentage of that amount straight away. So you can sort of see how trade can become stock, can become invoice finance, and there might be a minimal amount of cash that's had to go toward buying them goods, all the way through to getting paid by the actual customer.
Yeah, we don't just offer that one product to the customer and leave them to it. We're there for that entire growth journey of the business.
Exactly, yeah. And I think them two examples of fashion companies have been massively on a growth journey, and we've worked from not startup quite, but they were a couple of years old, one of them anyway, and it was very much we need to get cash quick, and if we don't, we're gonna struggle a little bit. And then you sort of see the growth, the journey. You go on the journey with them, and then facilities get better. They get better suited to the company because the lenders that are working in that area want to see that progression, that growth. But then you place them with that hopefully final bank that's going to support them for the rest of their lifetime. Not lifetime, but the business's sort of journey, growth journey. Obviously, that doesn't always happen, and sometimes you might have to switch it about a little bit. But that's why we maintain that relationship with the customer too, so that we can keep talking to them and supporting them through various means. And it might be that next time they want to buy a van, then they'll give us a call and we'll sort them out for that.
Or
as
a
well.
tax loan, or
Exactly,
anything thing that crops up, we're there to help them out.
Exactly.
So we also do some work in some lots of different sectors, some that might be more difficult to lend within, such as, construction, agriculture. Could you talk us through some of the deals that you've seen in those industries?
Yeah. So, I mean, both are great examples really, where you either need to have a specialist funder or someone needs to really understand it to be able to get it placed, or not necessarily to get the deal done, but to get the deal done with the right lender, the right interest rates, etc., and the right structure. So, just about to complete on a farm purchase, which is totally forecast led. So there's no actual trading history of this guy owning a farm, but he used to live on a farm. His dad does it.
So he's got that experience to back him up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's about taking the bank or the lender on a journey to try and get them to understand why it makes sense to put their cash forward. And so that's one type of agricultural deal that we worked on. But there's plenty of other opportunities in terms of sort of asset finance, combine harvesters and stuff like that, and stock as well. But and then the other sector you mentioned there, construction. It's a difficult game in construction, especially at the moment. Margins are tight, land's expensive, finance is expensive for them too. But I guess we're well placed in terms of knowing the right people when it comes to invoice finance, where generally most lenders don't like it because of that applications for payment, which won't make sense to most people. But it's a very different process for them. And unless somebody understands it properly, it's almost impossible to get the right deal. But we manage. I mean, I completed on one. I think it was 2 months ago, where it was just a year-old company. But they'd grown well. They've got some good clients. They've published the first set of accounts that have done really well. And I guess ultimately, so long as it makes sense, there should be a deal there. So, we sell that story. We make sure that everything's covered. We make sure that it's, I guess so. Nothing's hidden, but the important stuff's brought to the front so that people can understand why they should be lending to that company.
Yeah, and we take the time to get to know the customer before we even introduce it to any lenders.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, where possible, it's not always possible, but where possible, we'll go out and meet the customers face to face, whether it's on a muddy construction site or a muddy field in a farm, or it's in their warehouse or their factory floor. It's good to see what is actually happening.
We get our YBFA high vis on and get out there.
exactly, and yeah, any excuse. But yeah, it's great. It's great to see people in face to face. There's a lot of trust that then develops by doing that, and not every brokerage, not every lender does it, and I think it really does help us maintain that relationship throughout the whole process and thereafterwards as well. So quite often we are the first person that somebody calls now if they've got a full banking facility and they've got a relationship manager, or they might have many, but I mean ultimately they'll pick up the phone to us and say, I've got a problem, or I'm looking to do this, and we will normally help them towards getting the right deal in place to support it.
Why do you think people are moving more towards finance brokers instead of going direct to, say, the bank that they've got their business bank accounts with?
Well, I guess it's more a push factor from the banks from where I see it. I guess ultimately, and not to discredit banks because we work with them all, but ultimately they've changed the way that they operate. So you've now got to be borrowing a lot more money or have a much bigger turnover business to have a proper on-the-ground relationship manager, which used to be the norm. So banks disappearing from high streets means there's nobody in the bank there to go in and chat to, and there's less and less of them out on the road too. So what we're finding is a lot of our clients are getting housed in a call centre in Glasgow or Liverpool or whatever, and for someone to really understand the business, you've got to be able to potentially meet them in person, but you've definitely got to have spoken to them more than once and build that rapport and a relationship, because ultimately they're going away to speak to their credit team and make sure they buy into funding the business. Well, if it's the first time you've spoken to that business,
they don't know that business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's mostly push factor because the sort of going up the pay scale in terms of having that proper relationship, and then when you're sort of falling off the bottom of that and don't have that relationship, if your bank says no,
where else do you go?
Yeah, because the bank's then not fighting to try and get the deal done where it might have been in the past. You've now got to look at sort of specialist funders or other banks, and that's where we come in.
I think we have access to how many lenders is it?
Hundreds, definitely hundreds. We like to work with the ones that we work well with. But if there's a deal that doesn't match something, then that's when we're trying to reach out to other lenders and get things going with them. I guess ultimately, once you've transacted with a lender, you understand the processes. Portal based now, which some people don't like. You've just got to try and understand the product as best as possible. And I think we do a really good job of that. We've got a really good coverage of lots of specialist funders, all the challenger banks and the high street banks as well. I guess they all fit into place at some point.
Yeah.
And you've just got to try and make sure that you're starting off at the right point where it's going to be the best deal for the customer. If they are not likely to do it, then make sure you've got backups or work down that list. But you've got to be able to do that as quickly as possible. So sometimes it's just not going to be a high street type deal.
Yeah.
So whilst you might have a little test in the water, there's no point in trying to push it really hard because it's ultimately going to end up with a no. You might as well go straight to the right funder that's going to do it properly and get a good deal for the customer.
Yeah, definitely. What does our client journey look like? So someone rings the office, they're looking for some funding. What does that journey look like for them?
I guess it varies, but generally you'll get to speak to a broker, whether it be myself, Elliot, Jack, Barry, or sometimes Paul. Or I guess if it's a simple transaction or something that we do very often, or for that reason, then one of you guys in the background will office based, not background, but office based will be able to pick it up. I think from then on, it really does depend on how it looks. Like, I guess sometimes we'll go out and meet them, get a face to face in the diary. Sometimes it'll be a follow up Teams call. It can vary, but ultimately, there's a little bit of an onboarding process once we have convinced them that we can get a good deal for them. But I guess, so just take it back. Sometimes it might be a little bit of a fact find to try and understand more about the business, what they're looking for, if there's anything that we need to consider when we're looking for the right deal. And then it's a case of onboarding them. So
doing our due diligence side of it.
Due diligence, making sure that what we present to a lender is correct, and and that we've done our checks as a FCA regulated firm, and we also want to protect our reputation when it comes to not telling lies to the banks. So we'll make sure that everything's right. We'll do our checks, and then it's a case of getting out to the banks or the lenders and getting them to come back with their best terms. And we normally do that with 2-3 plus lenders. I mean, I've got one out at the moment to 10 lenders. Very good deal. We want to get the best deal. We want to do a really good job for the customer. But ultimately, they will then come back, and not everyone comes back because they might think they're not going to be in for a fight here, or
some lenders do want to fight, and that's when we can sort of negotiate the rates and other terms.
And that's what a broker can do that an individual can't do necessarily, because it'll just take up way too much time out of the business, and going to and their incumbent bank won't be able to sense check that against the market either. So we I guess that's one of the best things about using a broker. And then it's a case of gathering it all up, presenting it to the customer, and I guess advising as best as possible without pushing them down a certain route.
We talk through all the options so they understand every part of it.
Exactly, because the cheapest deal might not be the best deal, because you might not get any relationship, or it might be really slow. Our experiences might have been bad in the past, and we can share everything rather than just the price. And then it's a case of sign up to it, let's go. And we do a lot more than just push the button on the portal if it's a portal, or submit the application form, or say yes, let's go for it. We will then normally get quite involved with the valuation process, with document gathering if there's any further documents, plus solicitors. I guess that's a big selling point to a brokers, because we are there from start to finish, trying to help the transaction get through as smoothly as possible, but also there afterwards we can sort of review how it's gone and explain anything that might any questions that might come about afterwards, or if there's additional facilities or things like that, then we will then stick with the customer on their full business journey, as long as they'll let us. But it's a nice thing to be able to experience the whole process as well as there afterwards, because we get customers call back 2 years later, and we probably checked in the meantime, but they might call back.
And we even check in, especially if they've got a fixed rate mortgage, for example. When it's coming up to that end of the 2 year fixed, we're on the phone.
And I think it's good for us. It's more business, but also good for the customer, because it's quite easy to forget things like that. I mean, how many I've got subscriptions from anywhere that I might have forgotten about, and you think, I really need to cancel that. But I guess the same applies for fixed rate mortgages, especially if you've got a big portfolio.
If they all switch onto the variable rate, suddenly they're paying out a lot more.
Exactly. And some lenders, their variable rates are expensive. So, and that's because they want to get people on the fixed rates, or they like to make a little bit more money instead. So that's where we sort of reach out and say, right, well, this is available with the existing bank, or you can go elsewhere again. And we've built up that relationship. We know a bit more about the property. We can get it done a little bit faster generally as well.
So you talked about having deals all across the UK. Whereabouts are you based and the rest of the team based?
Well, the office is in Morley, Leeds, so it makes sense that a lot of our deals are around this area. I'm from Halifax, so just down the road. But I think most of the deals are along like the M62 corridor. We've obviously got a lot of people now in the South Yorkshire area, but with experience moving up to the east as well. But we transact in Manchester, in Liverpool, in the northeast. I mean, customers have got half of Redcar High Street at the moment, but up into Cumbria as well. We haven't done too much in Scotland just yet, but I'm sure that'll
sure we'll
grow.
cross the border soon.
and then I guess just by customer referrals or business introducers passing deals to us, you do end up picking up deals from further down south. I mean, I looked at a holiday. Well, I've done some holiday homes in Cornwall, and things like that. It's far-reaching, but I guess the north of England's our focus, and then we've sort of got two teams of brokers that are west and north, West Yorkshire based and South Yorkshire based, but Yorkshire, I'd call it Yorkshire plus north of England more than anything.
Perfect, thank you. So thank you for joining us today, Jake. If anyone wants to reach out, how would they get in contact with us?
So, I mean, my mobile number is 07943 887605, and my email is jake@ybfa.co.uk.
And you can always contact us on via our website and on LinkedIn.
Correct, yeah.